Geronimo was born an Apache, and he attained the status of being one of the greatest Indian warriors of the West. He is best remembered for his use of guerrilla warfare and his ability in later years to keep a quarter of the American army at bay with a band of just 36. His reputation for wisdom, bravery, and brutality have become a symbol in the American Indians' fight for freedom. Geronimo is best noted for 4 decades of waging war and winning against even the most aggressive enemy. And according to the Apaches, his secret to successfully guiding them was due to a special gift. Geronimo's faith in this force was absolute, figuring prominently into his life as both a seer and a soldier. He claimed the powers spoke to him, giving him the assurances that would arm him with the faith to fight. Geronimo lived during a time when the West was still wild, when the land was yours until taken away. He was born a Bedonkohe Apache, but eventually joined the Chiricahuas. Geronimo was branded a renegade, and John Clum was patiently waiting to have another try at taming the legendary leader. It would take time, but the two would meet again, fueling the fires of discontent between the warrior and the white man. During the years of the Apache fight for freedom, the name Geronimo struck terror in the hearts of Western pioneers. As long as the free-spirited lifestyle of the rugged Apache conflicted with that of the unyielding settlers, there could never be peace. In 1877, Geronimo was forced to obey the white man's laws. He and the other Apaches were forced to San Carlos, or what was known as Hell's 40 Acres. Geronimo would repeat the pattern of busting out and then returning to San Carlos. In September of 1881, Geronimo made another break, but he returned once more, this time to free those Apaches imprisoned by the white man's ways. The Indians he considered his people were under the leadership of Loco from the neighboring Membrano Apaches. Geronimo was willing to surrender his freedom for his family, but again he would only give himself up to the commander in charge. So General Miles, like General Crook, was forced to take his military reputation into the field to end the fighting. On September 4th, General Miles would finally meet Geronimo. On September 4th, 1886, Geronimo abandoned his life as a renegade. The terms of surrender were set, or so he thought. He had given up his fight to spend 2 years in Florida, where he would be reunited with his family and friends. This agreement marked a new beginning for Geronimo. He was now officially a prisoner of war. The fight for freedom had ended, leaving a trail of broken promises behind. The Apaches would begin not a 2-year sentence, but one that would last almost 3 decades, and Geronimo would never see his homeland again.
Geronimo and his people were transported down to the railroad and loaded onto trains to be taken back to Fort Marion. And in a supreme historical irony, the 4th Cavalry Band played Old Lang Syne. Old Lang Syne rang down the curtain on 4 centuries of Indian warfare.
It was now completely clear that the terms agreed to while surrendering would not be honored by the white man. Geronimo would not see his family for almost 2 years. He and 17 warriors were imprisoned at Fort Pickens, while the rest of the Chiricahuas were sent to Fort Marion and St. Augustine. Once in Florida, it was a combination of heartbreak and humidity that began to devastate the entire Apache culture.
The situation as it existed in Florida for the Apaches was one of totally an alien environment in terms of the terrain, the temperature, humidity, the structures, everything was, the weather, it was all very alien to them.
They fell ill immediately with the white man's diseases, mainly malaria and tuberculosis, so that in the first 7 or 8 months, 18 to 24 people died instantly.
Within a year and a half, more than 20 Chiricahuas had died. The numbers were alarming, and the only solution was to move the Apaches to another location. The Apaches were sent to Alabama. There was hope that they would adapt better to the new location, but only time would tell.
Again, their healing herbs were not available in Alabama. Their ceremonies were not available. The people didn't know how to handle the white man's illnesses. They died.
By 1894, there were under 300 Apaches alive out of the 517 imprisoned just 8 years before. They were dying at an alarming rate, and once again, this disturbing and deadly situation had to be remedied. They were moved once more, this time to Fort Sill, Oklahoma. Geronimo was losing ground among his people. But the white man still admired the bravery of this fearsome warrior and was willing to pay for a piece of anything he owned.
He became known as quite an entrepreneur because he would sell the buttons off of his coat. He kept a pocket full of buttons that he kept replenishing them with and selling them just as fast as he could.
He was seen everywhere, but his most notable journey took him to Washington to ride in the inaugural parade for Theodore Roosevelt. Geronimo was supposed to symbolize a part of the country's past. He was one of 6 so-called wild Indians that led the procession. The administration was making a point. They could do anything, and that included taming the Indians. It was probably propaganda at its worst, but Geronimo saw it as an opportunity to meet the president and present him with a final plea for freedom.
White men are in the country that was my home. I pray you tell them to go away and let my people go there and be happy. Great Father, my hands are tied as with rope. I will tell my people to obey no chief but the great white chief. I pray you to cut the ropes and make me free. Let me die in my own country, an old man who has been punished enough and is free. Geronimo, 1905.
On February 17, 1909, the great war leader had surrendered for the last time. His struggle to survive had ended, and his spirit was free at last. The fearsome warrior had fought his final battle, leaving only a legend to live on.